All right. Okay, excellent. Uh, Welcome everyone. This is our first board meeting in the new year. I'll say it that way. Thank you very much for being here. I am declaring a quorum is present. Welcome everyone. This is our first board meeting in the new year. All right. Has that been fixed? Was everyone else hearing that?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yes,
Okay, we're good. I'm not being, it's not,
I'm not doing that now, so I think.
okay, good. All right. So I am declaring that a quorum is present. Any additions to the agenda? I don't see a hand or anyone chiming in. All right, moving on. Approval of minutes. Has the board members had an opportunity to review the minutes for open meeting December 3rd, 2024?
yes.
Excellent. Any comment, edit, changes at this time? I'm not
Mr.
seeing.
Chair,
Yes, okay.
I move that the
You-
minutes be approved as presented.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second,
All in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. I can, oh, hold on one second. Can't see everyone's hand. I gotta change my screen. All right, so moved. Uh, all members being present, it was unanimous vote. Minutes are approved. And now on to point number 4, administrator's report.
Yes, well, thank you. Yes, and welcome to the new year. We'll, just start off with I did provide my legislative briefings to the Education, Energy, and Environment Committee and Ways and Means. They're both online. So a lot of the stuff in this report here talks about end of year stuff, but I know that you've both probably all my board members vividly watched those briefings here. So I'm going to be doing a little bit more of the high level stuff rather than going line by line of my admin report for this one around here. So yes, one of the bigger things that we did was that we have relinquished over 6,000 square feet of office space because it was never really utilized with everyone on a hybrid schedule. This has saved funding in our budget in many ways. And, whatever we can do to help with the crisis is always great. So this is one of the ways that we cut our budget and for it. And I think it was smart move too. And by the way, it also I think boosted morale too. Office sharing is not a big issue, and it just shows that the hybrid schedule has worked out well and is here to stay. On the candidacy and campaign finance division, the biggest things here was that we had the 2025 annual report that was due on January 15th, and 85% of the committees filed timely. So that's been great. And of course, everyone knows that starting on January 8th at noon, the fundraising prohibition for members of the General Assembly, Governor, Lieutenant Governor, Comptroller, Attorney General, and now the State Treasurer are all prohibited from receiving and depositing contributions during this period here while session is in place. So that's one of the bigger things. And it's amazing already to start talking about this, but in February next month, almost a month away here, we'll be opening up the candidate filing for the 2026 gubernatorial election. So that's kind of the bigger ticket there. As for public financing, we're working with Anne Arundel County now to get their program up and running, and looking forward to having Montgomery, Howard, Baltimore County, Prince George's County, and Anne Arundel County all online for the 2026 election here. Basically for information systems and technology.
1 second.
Yes.
State Administrator, I have a hand here, but I know you're running through, but I don't want to, I want to.
Sure.
allow Member Weissman to ask his question. If it can hold to the end, please do. But if not, go ahead. You have the floor now.
No, I
Weissman.
apologize, Mr. Chair. It's a new year, so I couldn't remember how we did things last year. I'll hold my question to the end of the administrator's report.
All right. Thank you.
Right? Happened there.
Sorry about that.
No worries. And let's see. So, basically, one of the bigger things here is that, we have established an initial list of vetted and approved generated AI tools for use for the state board and local board staff. So, we're looking and making sure when we use new technology out there that we use it responsibly and have vetted it prior to just initiating its usage. On information security here, our Securities Operations Center continues, of course, to operate 24/7, 365 days, providing that independent threat analysis and monitoring and managing our security services for our election systems there. On personnel, we would like to welcome Shamaria Hull. He's the new facility and inventory manager. He's worked contractually with us at the central warehouse for the past 2 years. He's been great. So we welcome him and his expertise to our team. It's been great. And you might remember Morgan Lexi Roden. She had worked with us previously, and now she'll be resuming her same role. She's come back working on implementation of various laws governing polling places, early voting centers, and I believe also helping us with regulations. So that's great. It seems like a lot of people leave SBE and then they come back because they either love elections and want to be a part of it again. So it's been fantastic getting these resources and our new hires back to everything here. And overall too, we're anticipating 2 more hires in our IT divisions and voting operations. Again, this has been a part of our overall strategy to eliminate single points of failure in personnel and making sure we have contingency and backup plans for the 2026 election and beyond. For active procurements, the biggest one here is Maryland Campaign Reporting Information System, MD-CRIS. We have made the award for Vitasoft, and we are on track for BPW approval on January 29th of this month, of this year, I'm sorry. So that's kind of the big one there. And, looking forward to engaging them as quickly as possible to, start up the new campaign finance reporting system and getting that on track for 2026 so that campaigns can start importing data into the new system as quickly as possible. On some of the bigger ticket future procurements is the statewide poll book modernization that is on track. And, we are looking to release an RFP relatively soon by the spring of 2025. And the new voting system project is fully staffed and we are doing it step by step. We did a request for information and we received those. And now the request for proposal is under development for drafting and working with the locals on that as well. Mail-in voting here, with just to let you know, we have, of course, we're supporting the Prince George's County special election. We sent out nearly 500,000 ballot packets. So they are out to the voters. And now also the drop boxes have been deployed. So voting is underway in the special primary election for Prince George's. There are two different ballot styles because you have a countywide office, which is the county exec, and of course, a district office as well. That's out there right now and moving forward. So great job there in getting that moving and forward. On the voter registrations and operations, we continue to do our monthly audits to verify compliance with federal and state laws. And, we're now making sure we're now doing a review of duplicate voting records, which is to see if there's any double voters from the 2024 presidential general. Once that review is done, we will make referrals over to the office of the state prosecutor for their enforcement actions on that. Just again, we are trying to also look at some of why we had so many provisional ballots from the 2024 general election. It was historic numbers of 150,000 plus here. But I wanted to dig into that one, which was code 4, which was they had said that they had either already voted or received a mail-in ballot. And that really didn't, that those are two separate things. One is I've already voted, and one is receiving a ballot, but not necessarily casting it. So we wanted to see what if there's anything that we can extrapolate from that. So we did that supplemental. The supplemental will be involved in making it sure. So we're going to revamp the provisional ballot application and the coding there to be a little bit more accurate. This was kind of some of the preliminary findings that we found from the 15 counties for review. And, we're going to do a deeper dive into that this year to making sure that whatever tweaks that we can do in our processes or outreach with it so that we can cut down on provisional voting, which will then help immensely with the canvas on the back end of everything as well here. And so with that, we are, again, doing our comprehensive audits of the 2024 presidential election. And, just as to ensure that the local boards are performing tasks required by the election law in Comar. We have, evaluate 19 areas of an election, and you can see all the areas there. And we are just ongoing and completing that. And we'll provide that to the local boards, to each election director and their members of the local boards, who will then have a chance to respond to our audit, our post-election comprehensive audit findings. Again, we do our automated audit, which is performed by our vendor ClearBallot. And this is to verify the accuracy of the tabulating systems that we have there. And, once again, all our audit findings came back great, with no issues that were reported. And finally, we do a lot of audits at the end here. We're doing the post-election manual audit here. And the local boards of elections now are preparing that and sending us notice when they're conducting their manual audit. So if anybody wants to visit and watch the manual audit of the elections, all the dates are available on our website, or contact a local board of election if you want to go there as well. And then we did do a risk limiting audit pilot in Hartford County, which was, I think, very successful. It allowed the local boards to see how to do a risk limiting audit. There's possible legislation about that. And I just wanted to thank Hartford County for doing the pilot and, allowing other local boards to witness and to also participate in the process. And I think it was very, very good for that. For voter registration and election management, the divisions there, we have, almost 4.3 million active voters now in Maryland. So it's great. It's always increasing. And, we are, of course, making sure we're, keeping up to date on any of our electronic transactions between Eric and MVA as well on that. Overall, that was kind of it in a nutshell. I did not exercise any duties since the last administrator's report. And with that, I'm open for questions. So thank you. Told you it was going to be fast.
Thank you very much,
had a
State
question.
Administrator. I know that Jake had Member Weissman was holding until the end, and then we'll follow up with Vice Chair. And then we will follow up that question of inquiry with Board Member Butler. Thank you. Go ahead, Jake.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and apologies again for jumping the gun before. Sorry for throwing you off your groove, Mr. Demarinis. Couple questions to you. Number one, can you explain a little bit public financing? So the locals passed legislation. Do they work with the state board in terms of crafting the legislation? Do they work? Because ultimately, it's the state board's responsibility to implement. But the locals, can you just walk me through kind of how that
Right. So
works?
there's the state law, which was enabling legislation for the counties to have their own public financing program. And we provide oversight and making sure that their legislation is in compliance with state laws and regulations. Because campaign finance has been with the state since I think 2005 or 6 or even earlier, because I think that the locals didn't want to again bifurcate it, so we assume all the political committees here. We work hand in hand with them on it. But recently, let me just say this: most everyone takes the Montgomery County example, since that was probably the first one, and they know that it passed and it was in compliance, and kind of cut and paste off of that into this system here, and it's but yes, we work with them. We make sure that they do certain activities, but it is their program. They do the outreach for promoting it, not the state board. And we provide them with guidance and how to file. And there was additional requirements, like they have to attach all their contribution cards and expenditures to a report, how to do that technically in the MD Chris.
Awesome.
So, we work with them, we help develop their summary guides, and we provide also expertise in campaign finance laws with the frequently asked questions, like, is this acceptable expenditure for a campaign? Yes, because we kind of guide that off of that from that.
Awesome. But they're working with us. They're in consultation with fantastic. Yes. Next, I want to go to the provisionals and code 4. I'm sure this is under discussion. Is there a way next time to split code 4 apart? Like code 4 has multiple. Is there to get to the root of what's going on here?
So I think that was the problem. By the time I got in and I looked at code 4 and seeing that it was, I've already voted, or I just received a mail-in ballot. Like that doesn't show anything. I think I want to split it, but because it was too late to change the template, and that we had already produced X amount of applications, we could not do that at the time. So now we are looking at it and making sure that we can move forward with it and split that out.
Gotcha. The folks who say that they didn't receive the mail-in ballot, do we do any checks on our end in terms of whether or not they actually, do we have any way of figuring out kind of where the disconnect is there?
That's something that we would all kind of look at. And I think this is the first time where we're getting that granular.
Yeah.
And I think, I think that's the whole point of this. Like, I want to start looking at it and going, hey, these people that said that they never received it, did they just, I want to take a look on the back end before contacting them, because they're just going to say they never received it.
Sure.
And it could have been in it could have been any sorts of things, and they threw it away and everything else. But
Yeah, I mean that's why I wonder more on our side. Like
yeah,
folks miss all sorts of things.
and I think that's
I'm
why the granular data is better than what we're at.
Yeah, no, this is great and really appreciate you walking through and the transparency on this. Just a couple more questions, Mr. Chair. The category for voters received an absentee ballot but chose to vote in person.
Mhm.
I know you mentioned in your report that for folks who didn't who automatically receive a ballot but didn't vote by mail-in ballot in the last two elections, we have to take them off the automatic list. Is there any follow-up to these? I'm just looking at the election day numbers, these 3,056 people who received an absentee ballot or a mail-in ballot but chose to vote in person. Is there any follow-up to see even just a small sample in terms of why did they request a mail-in ballot and then choose to vote in person? I just wonder if there's some way that we
You know
can
what, I
cut
think
down some administrative burden there.
I think one, we're looking at the best way. Right now, we're developing the standard operating procedures on the removal, like making sure about that. And I think now having this extra data here, if they choose to have voted a different way, I think we'll take a look at it and follow up. Again, this is kind of like the first time for all these processes here, and this is basically the first meeting post-election here. So I think that these are kind of great questions, and maybe we do like a small sampling of a survey to them and say, was it because you were done? Did you want to change your mind? Things like that.
Yeah.
Also, I think it helps with our departmental, because now one of the things is between our departmental, if it passes, hopefully, but we didn't get any opposition or anything like that, was that we are sending out notice now to individuals on the permanent mail-in ballot list 120 to 90 days prior to the election. So maybe with having that at the 90th day with a notice like being more pronounced, like, hey, you're going to receive this mail-in ballot. Do you still want to be on this list? If not, now reply back to us within that time period there. That letter itself might also maybe cut down on that number that, oh, right, I am on this list and I'm not going to vote in person.
That's fantastic. And again, just thank you for your transparency about all of this. Last question on a different topic. You mentioned the manual audit, and I know we had this discussion months ago, so forgive me. Are the local jurisdictions told which precincts are audited ahead of time?
They're polled, I think at the last board meeting beforehand so that they have it, but I think we polled them or tell them which ones to do. But I will double check with Katie on that one there.
Well, and follow up and
no, it's post-election. They
fantastic.
Right,
So
they do it
those-
post-election.
So they are not told which precincts are going to be audited before the election.
Exactly, right. They pull
So
it.
they have no way to pay extra special attention
Right, yeah, exactly,
to some
yeah.
precincts. Fantastic. That's what I thought. I wanted to make sure. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Ramirez. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Member Weissman. Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Jared, quick question. For 2025, do we anticipate continuing with these virtual meetings, or are we going to be going in person at all? Just
I think that's up to the board. I think virtual meetings kind of work, but I'm happy to host periodic meetings in Annapolis. Usually, maybe not so much in the winter time because with snow in Annapolis, as Member Weissman can attest, they're not the best at snow removal down here. But springtime and fall is always spectacular for Annapolis weather. So I'm happy to kind of work that out and let you guys decide when you want to have an in-person meeting. Always happy to host.
thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Member Butler.
Okay, a couple different things. And I think you were talking about this is very good that we're talking about the number of the provisional ballots. I think one other thing to do is like a public information thing to have people check and see how they're registered. It might be less expensive than, sending out letters to everybody also. But, as we start doing public information things, we could put right on there, you can go right online and check and see, how you're registered. Is your address correct? Is it the correct party? You know, whatever. There could be like just kind of a notice that says you can go right online and go check and see if you're getting a ballot in the mail or something like that. I think that would be helpful if we could just put it into some of these other things that we do. You know, we do a lot of information around voting time or ahead of voting time, and that would be just a simple public service announcement that would be helpful, because I think people forget what they've done. You know, we've changed things 3 or 4 different times, and they signed up at COVID, and then they want to unsign up, and they don't remember what they've done, but they don't even remember to think about it until we get right into voting time, and then it's too late to be messing with it. But it'd be nice, you know, earlier on, go check and see how you're voting, you know, how you're registered. Because I think a lot of people didn't realize they had to do provisional if they wanted to go back in and vote. Because I've had people say to me, you know, why do I have to do it this way? Well, because you did ask for this ballot and it's already sent. So maybe just a little bit of public information might be helpful for that. But I'm glad that we're looking at all of that, because I think that was a lot of provisionals, and that makes a huge issue for the boards trying to do all these canvases when they've got so much on their plate, and then adding all the provisionals because they are so time consuming. So excellent work on that. What are we using besides Eric? I keep forgetting because Eric's only doing half of the country. So what are we using besides that to keep our voter rolls clean?
I mean, just our normal processes there. As other states, if they provide us with information of a person registering, we do those
Okay.
updates from them. You know, at this point here, also, you know, looking at our neighbor in Virginia as well. I'm talking to my
Okay.
counterpart over there to see what they can do and can't do
Okay.
at this point here.
Okay. And then another quick question. Can you explain the risk limiting audit versus the other? Is this new, correct?
So it's just different types of audits. So the automated audit was basically we take the ballot images from the scanner and
Mhm.
send it to an independent vendor to verify their count of what transpired. They do not know our count. And you know, and basically it's called like a prisoner exchange at one point here. Basically, right? They take the thumb drive, they FedEx it over there, and then they perform their tasks with it. They come back with a number. We then verify that against our number in this prisoner exchange here, and that basically verifies the tabulation portion of it. Risk limiting audit is a different type of audit. There are 3 different types of it. There are ballot polling, batch comparison, and ballot comparison. Basically, it's just randomly pulling out ballots here, verifying that the votes that were on those ballots kind of match what the vote total was. And the bigger the difference is between it, the less ballots you have to pull. The closer the election is, the more ballots you have to pull, and there's an algorithm that you have to follow with it as well. But other states have done it. I believe Rhode Island, it does a risk limiting audit, and a couple of other states, and it has been considered a high standard on for testing the validity of election results.
Good. Thanks very much.
Yes.
All right. Are there any further questions? All right. Thank you very much, Jared. Greatly appreciate your thoroughness. Moving on to the Attorney General, Assistant Attorney General's report. Dan?
Thanks. Good afternoon, members of the board. Happy New Year. We're off to an exciting start. You have the Assistant Attorney General's report in front of you. Some very good news this month that I'm happy to go over, and if there are any questions, I will be happy to answer them. So briefly going through the report, the first case, Sullivan v. Summers, there's actually nothing to report. That case is fully briefed on a summary judgment motion and has been since late September, mid-October. There was a brief filing from both sides, and we are simply awaiting the decision from the district court on that. Wicomico County branch of the NAACP v. Wicomico County, nothing to report. That's still headed on its course. The third case, however, Gibson v. Frederick County, I'm happy to report the Fourth Circuit decided in the state board's favor. In an unpublished and per curiam opinion, the Fourth Circuit affirmed the district court's dismissal of the lawsuit, meaning they said the dismissal was the correct action. There is now a 90-day period after the opinion was released, which was on January 14th. There's a 90-day period in which Ms. Gibson and the plaintiffs may seek to appeal this case to the Supreme Court of the United States. If they do so, obviously OAG will take steps to oppose that. If they do not, that will be the end of that litigation. Maryland Election Integrity v. State Board of Elections. That is also a Fourth Circuit case, and while we don't have a decision, on December 12th, I had the privilege of arguing the case in Richmond before a panel of the Fourth Circuit, which was a fantastic experience. And now we will await a decision from the Fourth Circuit on that case. And then finally, Hannah v. Baltimore City Board of Elections, on the joint motion of the State Board and Baltimore City Board of Elections. The district court dismissed the case, and the plaintiff has not sought to appeal that case. And so that litigation will also be coming off the list and is concluded. There is one addition to there's one late breaking addition to the list. You may remember from September through November, December-ish, or it was really September to October of last year. Brian Della Rocca v. Susan Lee et al. It was a case in which a registered voter in Montgomery County sued the Secretary of State of Maryland, Chairman Summers, and Postmaster General DeJoy, seeking injunctive relief and claiming that the USPS, the United States Postal Service, participation in mail-in balloting, and specifically delivering ballots both to and from voters, rendered mail-in balloting extremely unreliable, and therefore sought to exclude USPS's participation in the election system. That case was dismissed. That lawsuit filed in September was dismissed. About a week ago, Mr. Della Rocca filed another lawsuit making very similar allegations. It is pending in the federal district court here in Maryland. He has named the exact same defendants, Secretary Lee, Chairman Summers, and Postmaster General DeJoy. And my colleagues and I will be answering the complaint and filing what we need to file to oppose it in the coming days. We've obviously reached out to our co-defendants who are defending the Postmaster General to see what we can do there. And that is the current litigation report for the State Board. If there are any questions, again, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you very much for that report, Dan. We now have a question from Member Weissman for you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Coburn, just a quick one. Remind me, I can't remember. Why the Secretary of State?
Well,
In Maryland.
that's a fantastic question. You would have to ask the plaintiff. I think because the Secretary of State does have duties related to elections in Maryland, those duties do not necessarily relate to the mail-in ballot system.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. If there are no further questions, duly accepted, Dan. Thank you very much for your due diligence. Moving on to number 6, item number 6, Title 13, late fee waiver request. And due to popular demand, Alan, would you like to give us a brief overview of what Title 13 stipulates to and what waivers have been requested for a vote to approve these requests by members of the board? Alan?
So Title 13 are the political committees, candidate committees, PACs, and I have 18 I'm suggesting to approve and 6 denials for Title 13. And you want me to go ahead and go through Title 14 as well?
No, we'll do them one by one. I
Okay.
appreciate that.
Yeah,
Thank
no
you.
problem.
The chair is open to a motion to approve the
Well,
state
can I have-
board. Yes. Oh, I didn't see your question.
What?
Okay. You have a question.
Yeah,
Vice Chair.
I just want to ask Alan, because there's one case, I believe it was in the Title 13, the one with the $28,570.01 that was in the account? Is that the Title 13? No?
I believe that is in the memorandum, which I think we will get down to the administrative closure of campaign accounts.
Okay.
But we'll get to that,
Okay.
Vice Chair. I appreciate that though. So as it stands right now for Title 13, per the State Board of Elections recommendation, the chair is open for a motion.
So
Member
moved.
Weissman? Oh,
So moved.
moved. All right, it was moved by Vice Chair. Is there a second?
Second,
It's been properly seconded by Member Butler. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. It has been moved unanimously. The recommendations put forward by the State Board of Election, Title 13 late fee waiver request. Thank you. Now moving on to Title 14 late fee waiver request. Alan.
Sure. And so Title 14 are businesses and can include nonprofits and those that have business with the state, those that have lobbyists that hire lobbyists. So I have 10 denials and 10 denials and 3 approvals.
Thank you. Are there any questions or concerns from the members? Have you reviewed the Title 14? Yes, Member Butler.
I have looked at them. I just had a kind of a quick question. Is the website just hard to use, or people just don't get to doing what they're supposed to be doing? It seems like we have a lot of there. And is there a difference between nonprofit and not for profit or something? Is that a problem that's coming up or no?
Well, there was a change in the law last year where 501c3s were exempted from reporting. So we've done a lot of work trying to get 501c3s removed from our filing community. It's not been easy. I will say, I think business Title 14 filers, if you think about it, the officers are usually people that work for a company. When they leave a job for different reasons, they don't tell anybody or nobody, and they don't know. So it's been a struggle with Title 14 because it's a candidate committee, they're very engaged with this, but these are businesses and nonprofits, and nonprofits have their hands full with lots of filing. So I think Title 14 filers have more of a challenge, I would say.
That's kind of what I was thinking, because I was reading through and seeing, kind of this pattern. I'm going, okay, it must be. Okay, sounds good. Thanks.
Sure.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Alan. Any other questions? All right, hearing none, the chair is open for a motion to accept. Member Weissman,
So moved.
is there a second?
Second.
Probably second. Member Butler, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. It is unanimous. Thank you very much, Alan. So moved. The board accepts the recommendations of the Title 14 late fee waiver request. Thank you. Moving on to here. Thank you, Alan. Please, you think you already know you have a preliminary question, but your explanation to the board would be great.
Yeah, I'm glad to answer the question that was it about the 28,000?
Yes.
Yeah, I just had some concerns, if I could do it now, Chair, or,
Sure.
Of course.
yeah, I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, Alan, by the way, Alan does a terrific job. To me, that's the most sensitive part of our whole operation, campaign finance, and you and your team do a great job. I was a prosecutor for 23 years, so when I read this particular report, I put that hat on. Every once in a while I do that. Correct me if I'm wrong, this is a candidate account that when it filed its last report post-general in 2016, had $28,570 and a penny in their account. To me, those are contributions. That's people who have donated money to this candidate. That money's gone. My question is, where's the money? This case was sent to the state prosecutor, and I'm very disappointed at the way they handled this. Since 2016, there's been no filing accounting for this money. This money is gone. And what did the state prosecutor do? They sent it back to us to handle. And in my view, they should have done more things. What they've done, they subpoenaed the bank, and the bank came back and said, well, our records are purged after 7 years. We can't help you. Then they spoke to the treasurer, and this is the one that bothered me the most. They interviewed the treasurer, and the treasurer said, I don't know what happened to the money. That is unacceptable. That is unacceptable. I don't know what happened to the money. That's what your job is, Miss Treasurer. And for them to send it back saying, we can't do anything about this really bothers me, because that's $28,000. What happened to it? And they send it back to us. I mean, you know, that a prosecutor, in my view, should have sent this case to a grand jury, subpoenaed witnesses under oath. Where's the money? And now they just send it back to us and say, you handle it. And I'm very troubled with this, because this is the kind of case that screams out for a really in-depth investigation. And all they did was ask the treasurer, what happened to the money? And that's no good. That's not good. So my view is that I don't know what our procedure would be, but I think this thing should have been pursued criminally. You know, if this was a non-election case and $28,000 was missing from someone's bank account, they'd look at that carefully as a possible theft. Is it? I don't know. Now, there's some issues here that they don't go into depth. Apparently, the candidate himself is in a care facility, apparently with dementia, which is a terrible thing. But we don't know what happened to the money. And they don't know what happened to it. Nobody knows what happened to the money. And then they send it back to us. What are we going to do with that?
Yeah.
So my question is, I really don't think this should be just closed. Some very strong action should be taken. And I'm just, maybe I got my prosecutor's hat on after 23 years, but the public, people donate money, $25, $100 to candidates. And the money's gone. So I think we have to pursue this, and I defer to the board, and I defer to Jared and Alan, but I wouldn't let this go with just a closure. I don't think that would be appropriate.
And so what is your question for Alan?
My question is, what are we going to do? I mean, in other words,
Well,
apparently
the
hey,
recommendation is that at this time, the recommendation is to close it.
So-
Yeah,
All right, State Administrator.
So I can answer the vice chair's question here for this one here. First of all, I want to say this on the record. I share your frustration. This is something I firmly agree with you on that. This is one of these situations here where we have limited enforcement authority. So if there was theft or anything that was discovered, we still could not pursue that matter whatsoever. We followed our procedures, which was, you know, when they don't file late filing with the state prosecutor's office. This committee has in the past been referred to the state prosecutor's office for further investigation with other activities. When I was in that role, I remember it distinctly. They are an independent agency, and they do exercise prosecution discretion. And, you know, as much as, you know, we can go forward with it and basically, you know, write letters saying we wish you to pursue this matter here, but if they decline to prosecute, then there's nothing that we can do outside of that to see. At this point here, since they declined to prosecute and they are our enforcement agency on this matter here, you know, we're just trying to clean this one up. But I firmly believe in your frustration there. And, you know, if you want, we can hold this one here and maybe relay the sentiment of the board about this element to them, and to see if they want to reconsider or change any of their policies about possible theft of the money there, because there are different statute of limitations for different activities there. This is I agree that this was a high number of unreported contributions, well, unreported expenditures for activities there, and that sometimes we see things that I know that are in the thousands and that are old committees. When it's $30 a pop for bank fees, I know that after a while there, they get eaten up by bank fee after bank fee because it's underneath there. Maybe we can take a look at and see what we can go forward with it. But I don't have any problem holding this one for further information for them on this.
Yeah, and Jared, maybe there are federal violations. Did they use the US mail? Was there transfers interstate? So there could be federal violations. Statute of limitations, we don't know as we talk when the money was actually taken. Maybe it's within a statute of limitations, but there's so many unanswered questions, and almost $30,000 of people's money is gone. So for them to just send it back, I was very concerned about that. I don't think that was an appropriate response. So that's just my thinking about it. And I agree. I wouldn't close it out. I mean, I just wouldn't close it out. I think it does warrant some further contact, suggestion, dialogue, something. It's too much money. Too much money, in my opinion. But no, thanks for your thoughts.
All right. With that being said, the rest of the members agree with the recommendations brought by the state administrator in regards to the vice chair's concerns with this particular campaign closure. If so, per the state administrator's recommendation, we will have Alan this one pulled from the administrative closure of campaign accounts report. With that being said, we'd still like to move forward. And I appreciate your question, Mr. Vice Chair. Do you have any follow-up question so that we can get to others who have questions?
No, certainly. I
Okay.
defer to Alan and Jared on taking the next steps.
All right.
And I think that's
Thank
a
you.
good
Yeah,
suggestion.
it's a great start. Thank you very much. I think I saw Member Butler's hand up, and then go with Member Jackson Stanley. Member Butler, you have the floor.
Alan, I don't understand the process as well as I should. So the people, the candidates, they open up the accounts and then they have the donations that go in there. And then when they stop running, or if they, run just one time or whatever, then they close their accounts out and they finish up, they pay their bills. And what do they do with the extra money that's in their account at that point?
They could give to political candidates of their choosing. They could give to particular charities, education charities. They could make a contribution to the Fair Campaign Fund, the gubernatorial public financing.
Okay, so there's ways for them to donate the rest of this money out somewhere else. Okay, those are my questions of how this process actually works, because but like some of these campaigns seem to stay open for years and years and years. And is that because they think they're going to run again, or is there a reason why they stay open this long?
They can stay open for 8 years without filing a candidacy. So they could always run for future office.
Okay, so is that why most of them do it, you think? Is that the reasoning there?
I can't speak to the different, it's different for different people. I think sometimes they want to run for future office. Sometimes they just don't do the work to close.
Okay, see, that's what I think some of these get that way. And then like this one, I mean, the man's very old, he's got dementia and whatever, this should have been dealt with, it looks like in 2016, and that now it's sat here so long. I mean, at this point, the bank could even the bank have the money. I mean, but the bank's saying they don't. They're saying it's
There's
zero.
no records.
No record. Yeah. So see that. Yeah. Okay. And that's why keeping track of this stuff and maybe Yeah, I just needed to kind of understand that a little bit better so that I could understand what we were doing, because this was a little different than the rest of them. Thanks for your comments. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr.
Thank you.
Chair.
Yes, you have the
Thank
floor.
you.
Member Jackson Stanley.
Thank you. Member Butler, as a former mayor and my treasurer asked me to keep the account open in case I decided to run again. The account was open, not at this level with state election board, but it was open for 4 years before I said, no, I'm not running again. So that could be the motivation for other people. You sort of drag your feet saying, will I not? And as Alan said, that's a personal decision. So that might be an explanation because that was what happened to me. I just wanted to give you the real life situation story. But
Well,
Mr.
I did run for office before too, but I shut
Okay.
mine down because it was so long ago and I really just don't remember. It's been a long time. So I was
Understood.
shutting mine down because it was, but I just didn't remember and how we moved along. Thanks for that though. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Mr. Chair, I wanted to make a full disclosure and then a question. Full disclosure regarding number one, the employee action movement of MCEA. I was a member of MCEA when I was fully employed, and Carol Kelly Nesbitt was a friend of mine. So I will recuse myself from voting on that particular one. But I do have a question for Alan.
Mhm.
Uh, you've mentioned, I think twice or maybe 3 times, I noticed that you've mentioned that she's 82 years old. Was there a reason for noting that as a reason for the actual recommendation? Because it's beyond the statute of limitation, I read, but you've said a couple of times, well, she's 82 years old, and Carol Kelly Nesbitt is indeed an 80-year-old person, but I never saw that on anyone else's description of the chairman or campaign person.
So
Did she bring that up as something to justify what was going on with her?
that letter's from the state prosecutor's office, so they
Okay.
often take age into consideration in their decisions.
Okay.
Just so that they have that discretion to take age into the mix.
For me, it smacked of ageism,
Yeah.
and I just wanted to go, really?
Yeah.
And knowing Carol Kelly Nesbitt, she would say, yeah, I might be 82, but I look good for my age, blah, 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 blah. But that was just a question that jumped out at me, and I just wanted to make sure I was clear.
Understood.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I will not be voting on this particular one, Mr. Chair. We can't hear you.
Thank you very much for that. So with that being said, we're gonna vote on these piecemeal. All right. So that we can honor the request of our members. In looking at this, so Alan, correct me if I'm wrong, we have the Employees Action Movement, Maryland Classified Employees Association, PAT. We have the James Peter for MoCo, is that the one we're holding? Or no? That's not the one we're holding,
No.
correct?
no.
Twice.
Parents Coalition of Montgomery County. And then we have the Oliver Kenneth Committee to Elect. That's the one that that's been asked to be removed at this time and further looked into. All right, so we are going to sparse these out based on your recommendation. The first 3 mentioned, we'll go with, the chair is open to a motion for employee to accept the State Board of Election recommendation for closure of Employees Action Movement, Maryland Classified Employees Association, PAC. Is there a motion? Mr. Weissman.
So moved.
It has been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been properly seconded by Member Butler. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. All right, we have 4 in favor of removing and 1 abstention and 1 abstention.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. It is so moved. Moving on to James Peter or MoCo. The chair entertain a motion to accept the State Board of Elections recommendation for this campaign committee. Member Weissman,
So moved.
is there a second?
So
Second.
moved.
It has been properly seconded by Member Jackson Stanley. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. It is unanimous. It has been approved. Thank you very much. Parents Coalition of Montgomery County, Pat. The chair is open for a motion to accept the State Board of Elections recommendation for this campaign committee. Member Weissman,
So moved.
is there a second? Probably
Second.
second by Member Butler.
Second.
All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. Unanimous. Thank you very much. Unanimous vote to accept the State Board of Elections recommendation regarding the closure of the campaign account for that particular organization. Thank you so very, very much, everyone. I greatly appreciate your participation, insight, and due diligence. Now, moving on to legislative update. Thank you, Alan. Greatly appreciate it. Jared.
So right now, the legislative updates, as I mentioned, there were 4 of our departmental bills. 3 have already been heard in Ways and Means, and the 4th one is moving forward with it on on next week. The Senate hasn't scheduled our departmentals yet, so I will let you know. And there is a couple of bills that I also want to highlight. Most notably, let me pull up the bill number here. Sorry, I don't have it. 2 seconds here. This one here is sorry, the Senate has scheduled our departmentals on February 5th. But the other one also on February 5th is Senate Bill 88. Its cross file is House Bill 322. It's Senator Kagan is the lead sponsor on it, and it's emergency legislation that I wanted to make sure you're aware of. It was an election law article that allows the state administrator to enter into memorandums of understanding with municipalities for loaning out our equipment and some of our staff members to support municipal elections. And this is municipalities that are not Baltimore City, because Baltimore City is covered under the election law article. These are the like Annapolis, Frederick, Rockville, those types of cities that we currently support, but there was issues with what we can provide legally when interpreting the law. This is to basically allow me as the state administrator of elections to enter into MOUs to provide costs to those municipalities and define the level of service which we would be providing to those municipalities. So I just wanted to make sure and mention that. And there are, of course, other bills as well that are being brought up, most notably too, which is Senate Bill 93 and with cross-file of House Bill 201, and that is codifying extending what was sunsetted, mailing out mail-in ballot applications to all eligible voters before the primary election. This is now, it's basically removing the sunset and continuing that process in perpetuity. Again, that has a Senate hearing on February 5th. That's their first big day of election bills there. So just kind of wanted to mention all those to you at this point here. And just note, just kind of bring those besides our departmentals, but to note those that have implications to the state board. So for everything. So, but if there's any other legislative bills that you have questions about, I'll be happy to answer it. But right now, Our job is to provide fiscal notes as they keep on coming in.
All right, thank you very much, Jared. Member Butler.
Can you just do a quick run through of what our four departmental bills are, just very fast?
Sure. So we have one, which is about petitions for new parties and the process, moving up the deadline a month from August to July, and making sure that once you've submitted a petition, that you cannot reuse that signature for a subsequent petition if your initial petition fails. Then we also basically the next one is about mail-in ballots and notice to the voters who are on the permanent mail-in ballot list, just clarifying when that notice gets sent to them, that it's going to be between 120 and 90 days prior to an election. That makes it crystal clear that we would send it to them. So, and basically, if you look at it this way, at the 90th day, if we send it to them, right, then in 45 days, military and overseas voters would start getting it, and 43 days prior to the election, our domestic people get it. So it's really right before that they receive it at that point there. So I think that that's a good period there. So it's kind of like letting them know, hey, in a little bit of over a month and a half, you're going to get your mail-in ballot. Please be on the lookout for that. So that's departmental number 2. Departmental number 3 is consolidation of all the election plans that we have, and that's early voting, polling place, and drop boxes, just into combining it into an election plan that is the county submitted. So instead of you getting all these plans and having to do it piecemeal, now you'll do it in one big package here. I think that it's more inclusive. It really shows how the voters can vote in that particular area, and gives the correct picture of the county voting. And we've also moved the deadline for that submission up 1 month. So instead of it being at the 6-month mark that they have to submit it to the board, which means usually you would have it for basically 5 months before election day, and then now the submission to the state board would be at the 7th month, so that we will be able to hear it at the 6-month mark beforehand. And then if there's any sort of modifications, corrections, or remediations that are required on any of those plans, it will be done in enough time without impacting any election day operations. And then finally, we have the special election bill, which basically just kind of codifies are the practical applications of what we need to do for a special election, which is for vote by mail. We need about 90 days now from the date of the proclamation in order to conduct a vote by mail, since it's no longer done at the county level special elections. So this is kind of recognizing the modern approach on how we do vote by mail. The state has the contract. The state provides the list to the vendor, and we kind of administer it. So this kind of has that built in, so that we don't have to worry about the county codes anymore, and that they can adapt to our timeline. And one of the other elements here of the special election bill is to give enabling legislations to the counties so they can bypass having a primary election and go directly into a general election. This was a cost-saving measure, and also allows for filling the vacancy in a quicker manner, rather than it taking 6 months to fill a said vacancy. They can do it in 3. So those are kind of the highlights of our 4 departmental bills.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Gotten some of it. Thanks.
All right, and Jared, we'll get a recap of all of those legislative updates prior to our next
Exactly.
meeting. Thank you very much for that. And we'll not only the number, but we'll have a legislative synopsis or brief of what that particular piece of legislative speaks to. Okay, thank you. That would be very helpful. With that, there's no other questions regarding the legislative update. We are moving on to the Prince George's County Vote Center approval.
So yes, with that, you have the packet in front of you. There is 9 early voting centers, which will also then continue as a polling place for election day. So special elections are a little bit different. There is no break from early voting on election through election day here. So, and you do not have to have all the polling places open on election day for a countywide or a district election. This complies with state law, and these locations are 1 in every councilmatic district, so that there's the 9 that are out there. I've also deployed, to let you know, 19 drop boxes in the area there. And most notably too, just for the drop boxes, I just wanted to say, because I looked at the map here, and if you look at it, the Fort Washington area looks a little bit, there is a population center there, and the early voting centers are a little bit further away. But we made sure that there is a drop box in that vicinity to service those voters.
All right, and it
But
looks like you
with
have a
that,
question from,
I approve. I approve.
Mem-
these.
okay, it looks like you have a question from Member Weissman.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. Don't mean to be a pain here. I don't have that document. I didn't see an email from Ms. Dennis with it, and it's not in the link that she sent earlier today of the board documents. Am I just missing it?
I don't have it either.
Okay, I will make sure. Okay, let's see if I can. We can send that out now. So we will send that out. If you we can hold this, and then we can come back to this one here, Chair, if you want. But we can continue with the meeting as I'll get Ms.
Yeah, I
Dennis
think
to
it's
send this.
critical for all the members to have the documents you're referring to, especially with regards to this initiative to vote on or approve the vote
Yes.
centers in Prince George's County for the special election. All right. Now moving on to old business. Now, I know there is some old business. It may not be listed here, but we are looking at looking at our bylaws, updating our bylaws, as well as delegation of duties. Those documents have been provided to you all. There has been some comment from the members to update those documents, so they will be once those updates have been made, they will be recirculated for your review. And at that time, if you are in compliance or complicit with those changes, please sign off on that, and that will move those documents into effect for our board. Any questions about that? Or some of you may have comment that you want to, bring up now with regards to those changes, but if not, it's totally fine. I talked with some of you about those updates and changes, but I think we are getting to a place where those documents will be amenable to sign off on prior to our next meeting. All right, no other old business to speak of at this time. Any new business?
I think you have a speaker.
We do, but we wanted to clear the new business, and then we'll hear from the speaker while other members receive the documentation for the vote. And we'll take the vote after we hear from the speaker.
So I have it, and I believe Ms. Dennis is actually sending it out right now.
That's
So,
fine.
I apologize. I apologize. I thought it was sent out. That this is, we had it on the schedule here, and I apologize. I didn't
It's okay.
look all throughout all the emails there. So that's on me.
Member Butler? No, no problem. Member Butler, you have a comment.
Is there any way to text that to my phone so I can read it on my phone? Because my computer's not working well enough to split screen and try and read it. It's not going to happen.
Sure. Let me see.
And they
if I-
just send that to the phone numbers. Will that work or not? Because I don't have my email set up in my phone, my state email. I just have the.
Gotcha. I can.
Mr. Damaris, if you can't, I can, I believe, text it to Speller.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember what sort of phone you have. Yeah, I can text it
Yeah.
to her.
Yeah.
All right. Excellent. So
Yeah, I can
can
barely
we,
get this running today, so I'm not going to mess with trying to get out of it in a minute. Okay,
excellent.
thank
So,
you, anybody.
so instead of, if there's no new business, Jared, let's go ahead and have the speaker.
Okay.
If we can get them pointed up, and then we'll re-engage with item number 10, Prince George's County Vote Center approval.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Hey, Dale.
Oh, good. Okay.
All right. It's your floor. You have 3 minutes. I don't want to take away from that.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Demarinis, Mr. Summers. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Happy New Year to everybody. And good afternoon to all the other board members and the office staff who might still be on the call. My name's Dale Livingston. I'm from Harford County. I sent a letter to Mr. Demarinis inquiring about the ballot marking device software changes and and that I may have misunderstood a brief conversation regarding ballot marking device software that may affect the process of election results. We know that the ballot marking devices do not tabulate, so my main question was about how any software change to these devices could have any effect on election results other than printing out a paper ballot to scan in the tabulator. I also wondered about the 2 columns of candidate change on the ballot marking device screen and how this would print out for the voter, as well as how it would be tabulated in the scanners. While it would make sense that the ballot would print out the same way it always has, it would still be nice to receive these types of answers from the state board. These questions were posed by other people last year, I believe, but I don't know that they've received any information to my knowledge. Concerning the issues that were also documented and reported during the 2024 presidential general election about the ballot marking devices flipping choices that the voters were making, we as stakeholders are asking again, what are the changes being made? How will these changes affect the voter ballots and the processes of the election results? As a major stakeholders in the election process, as all of you are as well, in that we are voters, our tax dollars pay for this entire system, and as well as being part of the conduct of elections as election judges, canvassing teams, challengers and watchers, etc. Our interest in all aspects of elections is both a responsibility and duty that we take very seriously and wish to keep abreast of what is happening in our election system and make sure that those assigned to run the system perform their duties and responsibilities to keep us informed and hold themselves accountable for this public service. We would also like to have a seat at the table when changes are being considered for mechanics of the system or changes in a process and procedure, changes in policies. All of these things affect the voters and can cause uncertainty as to their trust level. We're sure that the SBE is aware that we, voters and citizens, are concerned and deserve to know how our election system is being cared for. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dale Livingston, great to hear your commentary. Are there any questions or for our speaker, with all due respect. Member Weissman.
No questions, Mr. Chair, just a general comment. And I know the state board does a great job with your with the rumor control website of kind of addressing concerns as they pop up, and I appreciate that. And I know, frankly, from firsthand experience of voting while I literally have kids on my back, that the ballot marking devices, you select them, then it prints it out, and you can take a look at your ballot as it's stated before putting into the machine. I know every election cycle, voters, and it's always different voters, will raise concern about the ballot marking devices, and more often than not, it's because of folks with long nails or folks touching them. I know these machines are calibrated daily and checked daily. And then voters have an opportunity to look at their physical ballot before they put it in the scanner, which is where their vote is actually counted. And I guess kind of a question for Mr. Damaris, these are calibrated daily and checked to make sure that the marking devices are accurate, correct?
So yes, they are checked. We have logic and accuracy testing on those to make sure that
Fantastic.
we go through it beforehand, and then once the logic and accuracy tests are done, then they're done, and then they're ready to be shipped out for everyone. And along those lines, there we did do updates not only on the rumor control page, but we issued a press release as well on that, and issued a video from that we used from other facilities, detailing, making sure you don't go off to the side, hitting the name in the center is probably the best way, rather than trying to hit it on any of the places. But we are, the machines themselves, we're looking at upgrading, of course. This is one of the part of the things with the new voting systems, and that is on track for the 2028 elections. So they will be used for the 2026 elections, and we will make sure beforehand, issuing and showing out the videos and doing outreach, making sure if you do use the ballot marking device to, hit the center and walk through anybody wanting to do that. We had great numbers on that. Just to let you know, a lot of people did choose ballot marking devices, and no one seemed to have really had any real problems with it or complained about it once we started to show the videos and being on top of it and proactively addressing those situations.
Fantastic.
Thank you
I
very
know.
much. Thank you very much, Member Weissman. I really appreciate your response to Citizen Livingston's concerns that's brought here today. Thank you very much for bringing those concerns and those comments for the record as we deliberate on being responsive to the voting public. So thank you so very much. Greatly appreciate it. Member Butler, do you have a question? I don't want to belabor or dilute Citizen Livingston's time or
No, I just
comments.
want to make a fast
But
comment.
if this is, it's a comment, so thank you I want to acknowledge your presence here today and your public comment, Citizen Livingston, Dale Livingston. We do have them in writing. They have been shared to the board members. Going forward, we will be engaged with those concerns and monitoring how we move forward in response. Thank you very much. Member Butler.
I just want to thank you for bringing bringing your thoughts to us, and the fact that we are aware that the machines are older, and we are working on, getting all the new machines. And I think, following up by you want to stay abreast with things. So watching our meetings, I think, we try and explain as much as we can to the public when we're on these meetings also. So if there are changes, I think watching our meetings would be helpful to you to stay abreast of things that are happening. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Member Butler. All right, hearing none, we greatly appreciate your involvement, Citizen Livingston. And with that, we are moving back to item 19 on the agenda. Item 9 10 on the agenda. All right, I got it together. Thank you very much, Member Weissman. Item number 10, Prince George's County Vote Center approval. It seemed that you were describing something in southern Prince George's County. State Administrator, did you want to
Yes, so
be
now everyone,
engaged from there? I have it up. Hopefully everyone has it up.
so yes, as you can see on page 4 of the with the map there. So each of the centers for early voting, and they will also be the polling place sites, represent a district in there. But if you see the Fort Washington area there, I noticed that there was a bigger gap because the Fort Washington does have a population center, and that there is one that is near that. But not necessarily for that one little region there. So we made sure that there was not only something a little bit closer to that area in that facility with drop boxes. So, but overall, this is it basically serves the county and the district elections, meets all the requirements of the law and all the technological needs of us to conduct an election as well. So with that, I recommend approval of these sites.
Member Weissman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks for this. And Ms. Butler, I texted it to you, so hope you got it. Just a quick question: the 9 sites, is that a requirement of statute? Where did the number 9 come from? So because they have 9 councilmanic districts?
It comes from the councilmanic district. So right, so each councilmanic district, it's in the state statute that that there should be at least a polling place or a early voting center in each of the councilmanic districts.
Okay, so that's a statutory requirement.
Yeah, you can interpret it that only one is necessarily required as well, but I interpreted that it should be as many facilities as possible. So, and I'm glad that Prince George's County put it in their code, in the proclamation as well for that, to have 9.
Thank you.
All right, Member Butler. You're on mute. You're on mute. We can't hear you.
Jared, this is the map that we talked about, and we looked at the different areas, and we did have a conversation about the southern part of the county, and you were putting the drop boxes there in order to
Right.
cover that, correct? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so we did look at that carefully. Right, thank you.
Thank you. The chair is open for a motion to approve the State Board of Elections recommendation. Yes, Member Weissman.
So moved.
It's been moved, and is there a second? It's been properly
Second.
second. Thank you very much, Vice Chair. Shallot, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand and accepting the State Administrator's request to approve the Prince George's County Vote Center proposal. Thank you, and it was unanimous.
Thank you.
So moved. In favor. All right. Now we are on to disclosure of campaign contributions. Yes, Member Weissman.
The fundraising freeze, I have a small list, so if you'll indulge me, I'm just going to read off the names of the accounts, and Ms. Dennis, I'll email them to you so you don't have to worry about writing them all down right now. I made contributions to the following accounts: Brooke Learman from Maryland, Citizens for Adrian Jones, Citizens for Bill Ferguson, Citizens for Brian Feldman, Citizens for Charles Sidner, Friends of Alethea McCaskill, Friends of Ben Barnes, Friends of Craig Zucker, Friends of Guy Gazzoni, Friends of Jared Solomon, Friends of J.S. Lewis, Friends of Kevin M. Harris, Friends of Nancy King, Friends of Sarah David, Friends of Sheila Ruth, and Friends of Stephanie Smith. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Member Weissman. Any other disclosures from yes, Member Butler.
I went to the MDGOP Christmas party.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, nothing to report.
Thank you. All right. Hearing none from Vice Chair or
No,
myself. All right. Thank you all very much. Now, we will have our closed meeting, and then we will move to adjournment. So the closed meeting, this is to hear um, for legal advice. And I'll get that up for you now. So we are per statutory authority to close session related to Section 3-3051 to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over which this public body has jurisdiction. Section 8, to consult with staff consultants or other individuals about pending or potential litigation. Section 7, to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice. Section 15, to discuss cybersecurity, or subsection 15, to discuss cybersecurity if the public body determines the public discussion would constitute a risk to security assessments or deployments relating to information, resources, technology, and network security information, or 3, deployments or implementation of security personnel, critical infrastructure, or security devices. Thank you also very much. The chair is open for motion to move to closed session.
well, Mr. Chair, do we want to set a date for the next meeting in open session or,
Yeah, but we haven't closed out yet.
okay,
We still have to close the open session. We're just moving
okay.
to, I'm just taking a vote on, or taking a motion to move to closed session. Yes, Member Weissman.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is it been properly seconded? The board will move into closed session following our motion to adjourn. Now, the scheduling for prior to adjournment, scheduling for the next meeting, we have Thursday in February, looking at either February 20th or the 27th. So the third Thursday is the 20th. Two o'clock, 2:30.
I
On the
had the
20th?
27th on our calendar, but I wasn't sure if that was just me either.
I have a budget hearing, I think, scheduled on the 20th at this
Okay, so
point
is that
here.
why we moved to the 27th?
I
So
think the 27th is always the fourth Thursday of the month, and the 23rd was the fourth Thursday, so that's why I think it's not the last Thursday, so that's so the 27th is still available, and that would also be the one for a quarterly briefing too at the law.
February 27th still work for everyone.
That works for me.
Yes.
Is 2 or 3 o'clock best? Oh, are we fine with the 2 o'clock?
I like
2 o'clock.
Or, all right. So we are set for February 27th at 2 p.m. for our next meeting. All right,
Are we staying here for the next meeting or are we going to a different?
it'll be sent to you for close. Jared?
No.
No,
the
you
closed
have
session?
the
Oh.
Google link already. It should be sent to you. If not, I can
Well,
resend it to you.
You may need to resend it just for, just to be sure. And folks, we will reconvene in the closed session in about, what time is it now? I'll say 3:45, okay? Now, the chair is open for motion to adjourn the open session. Member Weissman,
So moved.
is there a second?
Second.
It's been properly seconded. Thank you very much, Member Jackson Stanley. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand.